When my grandfather was dying, I didn't go see him. Not because I didn't want to, but because my parents told me he didn't want me. They said he was angry, that he refused to see me, that he didn't even ask about me anymore. So I stayed away, even though every part of me felt wrong about it. Because my grandfather and we weren't distant. He was the one who raised me when no one else cared. The one who always picked up my calls. The one who told me I mattered, even when my own parents didn't. So how could he suddenly want nothing to do with me? I asked again and again. But every time, I got the same answer. Don't make this harder, they said. He needs peace. Peace. Like I was the problem. Like seeing me would hurt him. So I believed them. Even when it broke me. Even when it didn't make sense. And then, the day he died, I finally went to the hospital. Not to see him, but to say goodbye from a distance. That's when a nurse stopped me, looked straight at me, and said something I'll never forget. He never stopped asking for you. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I didn't abandon him. I was kept away. And what she showed me next was something my parents never expected me to see. Growing up, my grandfather wasn't just family. He was my safe place. When the house felt tense, I went to him. When I felt invisible, he noticed. When no one listened, he always did. He never rushed me. Never judged me. Never made me feel like I was too much or not enough. To him, I mattered. I remember sitting on his porch for hours as a kid, listening to his stories. Not the perfect ones. The real ones. The mistakes he made. The things he regretted. The lessons he learned the hard way. And somehow, he always turned those stories into something for me. Don't let anyone decide your worth, he would say. Not even your own family. Back then, I didn't fully understand what he meant. Because in my mind, family was supposed to be the people who lifted you up. Not the ones you had to protect yourself from. But as I got older, things at home started to feel different. Colder. My parents were always busy, always distant. Conversations felt more like instructions. Emotions felt inconvenient. If something went wrong, it was always about fixing appearances, not feelings. But my grandfather? He never changed. He called me every week. Even when he didn't have anything important to say, he still called. Just to ask if I had eaten. If I was okay. If I needed anything. And those small moments meant everything. Because they reminded me that someone saw me. Someone cared. So when I heard he was getting sick, it didn't feel real. At first, they told me it was minor. Something routine. But then the updates started getting shorter. More vague. More controlled. He's resting. He's tired. He can't talk right now. Every time I asked to visit, there was a reason I couldn't. At first, I trusted them. Because they were my parents. But slowly, that trust started turning into something else. A quiet unease. Because my grandfather wasn't the kind of person who would shut me out. Not without a reason. And no matter how many times I asked, no one ever gave me one. At first, the distance between me and my grandfather felt temporary. Like something that would pass. But days turned into weeks, and weeks into silence. Calls stopped going through. Messages stayed unread. Updates became shorter, colder. And every time I asked what was happening, I got the same answers. He's not up for talking. He's resting. He doesn't want visitors right now. At first, I believed it. Because I wanted to. Because trusting them felt easier than questioning everything I thought I knew. But then, the words started changing. One night, my mom looked at me and said, "He's upset with you." I froze. Upset? Why? I asked. She just shrugged. I don't know, but he said he doesn't want to see you. That sentence didn't just hurt. It didn't just confuse me. It shattered something. Because my grandfather, the man who never once turned me away, was suddenly choosing to. Or at least, that's what I was being told. After that, everything shifted. Every time I picked up my phone, I hesitated. Every time I thought about visiting, I stopped myself. Because what if it was true? What if I showed up and he really didn't want me there? What if I made things worse? So I pulled back. Slowly, painfully, I started creating distance. Not because I didn't care, but because I thought he didn't. And that thought, it stayed with me. It followed me into every quiet moment. Every night I lay awake, wondering what I had done wrong, replaying conversations, searching for answers that didn't exist. But the worst part wasn't the silence. It was the doubt. Because when someone you trust keeps telling you something, you start to question yourself, even when your heart is screaming that it isn't true. And deep down, I felt it. Something was wrong. But I didn't know how wrong it really was. Not yet. The day I went to the hospital, no one told me to come. I just couldn't stay away anymore. Something inside me kept saying, this isn't right. So I went. Alone. The moment I walked in, everything felt heavy. The quiet. The smell. The way time seemed to slow down. I went straight to the front desk and said his name. The nurse checked the system, then looked at me. Family? She asked. I nodded. Granddaughter. She hesitated for a second, then told me his room number. My heart started racing as I walked down that hallway. Each step felt harder than the last. But just as I got closer, I saw them. My parents. Standing outside his room. And the moment they saw me, their expressions changed. Not relief. Not surprise. Annoyance. What are you doing here? My dad asked, almost irritated. I came to see Grandpa, I said, trying to stay calm. He shook his head immediately. You shouldn't be here. My chest tightened. Why not? He's not asking for you, my mom added quickly. He doesn't want to see you right now. There it was again. That same sentence. Like a wall placed right in front of me. For a second, I froze. Part of me wanted to believe them. To turn around and leave like I had so many times before. But something felt different this time. Stronger. Like I couldn't ignore it anymore. And then, a nurse walked past us. She paused. Looked at me, then at my parents. Her expression shifted slightly. Confused. Concerned. Are you his granddaughter? She asked softly. I nodded. And what she said next stopped everything. He's been asking for you every single day. Silence. Heavy, unavoidable silence. I slowly turned my head toward my parents. But they didn't say a word. Didn't correct her. Didn't explain. Because there was nothing to explain. In that moment, the truth was already standing right in front of me. The nurse gently touched my arm. There's something you need to see, she said quietly. I didn't ask questions. I couldn't. My heart was already racing too fast, my mind trying to catch up with what I had just heard. She led me away from the hallway, into a small, quiet room. Closed the door behind us. And for a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. He asked me to help him record this, she said softly. A few days ago. My hands started shaking before I even touched it. Record, what? I whispered. She looked at me, like she already knew what this would do to me. Something he wanted you to hear. My chest tightened. Because suddenly, everything felt real. Too real. I pressed play. And then, I heard his voice. Weak, slow, but unmistakably him. If you're hearing this, he began, his breath uneven. It means I didn't get to see you. My knees almost gave out. I had to sit down. I asked for you every day, he continued. But they kept telling me you didn't want to come. The room felt smaller. Like the air had been pulled out of it. They said you were busy, that you had your own life now, that you didn't care. Tears blurred everything in front of me. Because those were the same words my parents had been feeding me. Just reversed. I didn't believe them, he said after a pause. I know you. You wouldn't do that. A sob escaped my throat before I could stop it. Because he knew. Even when I wasn't there, he knew. They thought I wouldn't notice, he added weakly. But I saw the way they avoided the calls, the way they changed the subject. Every sentence hit harder than the last. They lied to me, he whispered. And they lied to you. I covered my mouth, trying to hold myself together. But I was falling apart. Right there, in that small room, listening to the truth I should have known sooner. I just needed you to hear this, in case I don't get the chance to say it to you myself. There was a pause. A long one. And I could hear his breathing, slow, fragile. I'm proud of you, he said finally. I always have been. My eyes shut tight as tears ran down my face. No matter what they say, don't let them take that from you. His voice cracked slightly. And then, softer than before. I love you. The recording ended. Just like that. Silence filled the room again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was heavy, filled with everything I had just lost, and everything I had just found. Because in those few minutes, my entire reality had changed. I didn't abandon him. I didn't fail him. I was kept away, and the people I trusted the most had taken that moment from me. I walked out of that room with tears still on my face. But something inside me had changed. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't confused. I wasn't questioning myself. I knew the truth, and I wasn't going to let it stay hidden. My parents were still standing outside his room, like nothing had happened, like they still had control over the story. I walked straight toward them, holding the device in my hand. They saw my face and instantly knew something was wrong. "What is that?" my dad asked, his voice tight. I didn't answer. I just pressed play. His voice filled the hallway. Weak, but clear. Every word echoed louder than anything I could have said. "I asked for you every day." My mom's face went pale. "But they told me you didn't want to come." My dad stepped forward, trying to stop it. "Turn that off," he said sharply. I didn't move. "They said you didn't care." People started turning. Nurses. Visitors. Even patients walking by. Everyone could hear it. There was no hiding now. "No," I said quietly. "You don't get to control this anymore." The recording kept playing. They lied to me, and they lied to you. And just like that, everything they had built started falling apart. When it ended, the silence was unbearable. I looked at them. Really looked at them. Waiting for something. An explanation. An apology. Anything. But all I saw was panic. "We were trying to protect him," my mom finally said, her voice shaking. "From what?" I asked. They didn't answer. Because there was no answer that could fix this. No reason that could justify stealing those moments from me. "You took away my chance to say goodbye," I said, my voice breaking. "You made him believe I didn't care." Tears were falling again, but this time, I didn't hide them. "And you made me believe he didn't want me." My dad tried to speak. To explain. But I stepped back. "No more lies," I said. Because some damage doesn't get explained away. It just stays. And in that moment, they knew something had changed. Not just between us, but inside me. After that moment, everything shifted. Not loudly. Not all at once. But permanently. The hallway slowly returned to normal. People walked away. The whispers faded. But inside me, nothing was the same. My parents tried to talk. Tried to explain. Tried to turn what happened into something smaller than it was. "We didn't mean it like that. We thought it was better this way. He was already so weak." I heard the words. But they didn't reach me. Because no explanation could undo what they took. The missed calls. The unanswered days. The lies that built a wall between me and him, when time was already running out. They didn't just lie. They stole something I could never get back. The chance to sit beside him. To hold his hand. To hear his voice, without a screen between us. And now, all I had left was a recording. A goodbye I never got to give. They kept talking. Apologizing. But it felt distant. Like noise in the background. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to understand them. I wasn't trying to fix things. I wasn't trying to make it okay. I just accepted it. Accepted the truth. And sometimes, that hurts more than anything else. Because once you see people clearly, you can't unsee it. I didn't get the goodbye I deserved. But I got the truth. And somehow, that mattered more. Because no matter what they said, no matter how they tried to rewrite it, he knew me. He knew I wouldn't leave him. He knew I cared. And in the end, that's what stayed. Not their lies. Not their excuses. Just his voice, telling me he was proud. So I stopped asking for their version of love. Stopped waiting for their approval. Because the only person who truly saw me already did. And that's something they could never take away. Not then. Not ever.